I wanted to talk real quick about why did I start a lawn care business. My homie was helping me out in my business. He was helping me out with my route one day, and he was like, man, why did you start a lawn care business out of all of the businesses to start? You know what? He was like, me and my dad, because I know his pops. He said, me and my dad was talking about it, like, what possessed you to start a lawn care business? Also, because I'm historically known for having super bad allergies. Like this is a homie that I lived with before when I was a kid. I lived with him, so we shared a room for about a year, and he hated me. This when we first met, we were sharing a room, and he hated me because at night I'm just like a million times. I always had horrible allergies. I used to have bad asthma when I was a kid too, but always had bad allergies, and I'm always sniffling and rubbing my nose and stuff. And I'm allergic to grass. So he's like, what possessed you to start a lawn care? So the story of my lawn care, getting into lawn care, it started when it goes back to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I live in California now, Southern California. But when I was a kid, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was homeschooled from the third grade. My parents pulled us out of school in the third grade on, and I was homeschooled. I got 3 sisters. I'm the second oldest. So out of boredom, I wanted to start a business. So I don't know how the idea came up, but I got the idea of starting a lawn care business. And it started with raking up leaves, like in the fall. So I would go around to all my neighbors, knocking on their door and asking if I could rake up their leaves for like $5 or something like that. Rake up all their leaves for $5. So that's how it started. I'm at this farm. I gotta weed eat this farm. I'm gonna just do the outside today. But man, last time I was at this farm, I weed eated. The first time I did this farm, I must have weed eated for like 7 hours straight. And I did so much weed eating that I melted the shield around my string trimmer, the plastic shield. It melted off. And so now I don't run a shield with my string trimmer. And it's actually better not to run a shield. You get your string gets longer. I've actually noticed that it's better to run it without the shield. But anyway, back to the story. So I started raking leaves for my neighbors for $5. And then that progressed to, I would say, hey, would you like me to mow your lawn as well? And there was some of them would be like, sure. You know, you rake the leaves for $5, now you're offering to mow the lawn. Some of them would take me up and say, sure. But I didn't have a lawnmower. I didn't have no fear when I was young. Like I was a lot more outgoing when I was a child, and I've progressively got more antisocial the older I get. I don't know what it is. I just want to be around less and less people. The older and older I get, I have less of a desire to talk to people. But when I was young, man, I had no restraint on talking to people, selling stuff. You know, I didn't care. So, and I was how old was I? I think I was maybe 8 years old at the time. Maybe 8 years old. So I started with raking leaves, and then my sister is 2 years younger than me. And even though we fought all the time, you know, my closest sister is 2 years younger than me. She was like she would always, like, whatever I would get into, sooner or later she would get into it as well. So she started coming with me, and we would rake leaves together. Then I started asking people, hey, can I mow your lawn for whatever amount? And they'd be like, sure. I would say, well, can I use your lawnmower? Because I don't have a lawnmower. They would let me use their lawnmower. And that's how I started with lawn care when I was 8 years old. Now, I can't remember how consistently I did it, but I did that for some time. When we moved though, we moved back to California because I was born in California, but I spent my younger childhood in North Carolina. But when we moved back to California, I didn't do it. I didn't think to do it anymore, and I went back into school, public school, when I hit middle school. I started going to school again. Now fast forward to, I'm a grown man. I was doing sales. I was probably like, I can't remember how old I was. Like, years and dates and ages is hard. I got to do the math, so I don't want to like make the story longer trying to do the math, but let's just do the date. So in 2019, I had been doing sales for probably about 5 or 6 years, doing telemarketing. And from about 2018 or 2017, like my 5th year in doing sales and telemarketing, I always didn't really like it, but it was just a job I was doing to make the ends meet, and it was paying well, and I was okay at it. I was good at it, but it was stressful because it was complete commission. But around 2018, 2019, I really wanted to get out of it, and I've always had other things that I was doing on the side, so I wasn't tripping. Like, I had other outlets, because I come from a background of like always trying to do some type of music. I was in a band, and that's why I didn't mind the sales, because I just didn't mind it. I was more focused on the music. The sales was just like my day job. But around 2018, 2019, I was like, man, I want to get out of this. I didn't like the product that I was selling. I was selling auto warranties, and although I was good at selling it, I felt like the product wasn't good, right? Because I would do my part, but sometimes the product, I feel, would let down the customer, and they wouldn't pay out the claim or whatever. So that didn't sit well with me. And the further I got into it, the more I was just like, nah, this ain't it. So around 2018, 2019, I'm like, what can I do to transition out of this? But I was making good money. I think my best year in doing telemarketing sales, I might have made like $86,000. But after when 2020 came around and COVID came around, we were at home, and we were at home. So I was like, you know what? Before 2020, was it during 20? No, I think when 2020 came around, we were at home and, working from home. And just out of boredom, I would be like watching YouTube. I always watched YouTube while I was like on the phone doing sales, just to like kind of distract me from the call. So I wasn't, it's a weird way of just like making it less pressure. So I used to watch like boxing, old boxing matches. And I used to watch BMXing because I used to be really into BMXing. So I used to watch that. Just a bunch of crazy stuff, stuff I can watch and not really have the audio on. But then in 2020, during COVID, in 2020, when we was working from home, I started watching a lot of lawn mowing videos. Somehow I just got into watching lawn mowing videos, and I'm just like, every day just watching lawn mowing videos. And then I was like, man, I remember I used to do this. I want to cut my own lawn again. So I ended up buying a Honda mower, the 216, whatever. So I bought the Honda, a little 20-inch, and started cutting my own lawn. And I'm just like, it's something about it. If it's just like a peaceful thing that comes over you when you're doing some yard work. So after doing that, I was still watching lawn care videos, and this one I'm seeing people, I'm like, wow, people actually do this for a business. I'm seeing a lot of people, running it up for a business. And I think the two lawn care channels or the 2 or 3 that really stood out in the very beginning were like Make Money Mowing and Mike Andes, of course, and who else? I think Make Money Mowing, Mike Andes, uh, Blades of Grass or whatever. But the Make Money Mowing one really made it hit home. Like, hey, I could do this. So I started doing it part time in 2020. I printed out some like little flyers, or got some flyers printed out, just black and white flyers. Started leaving uh, 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 tags on my neighbor's door, and somehow, some way, one of my neighbors was like, one of my first clients was my neighbor, because I would mow my lawn. He was like, "Hey, would you be able to mow mine when you mow yours?" So I started doing his. So that's how I got into, lawn care, was just part-time, and when I mow mine on the weekend, like on a Sunday. So, this is another thing. When I was looking to transition out of my telemarketing thing, the reason why I stayed in my telemarketing thing so long is I was like, it's Monday through Friday, and I've been a Sabbath keeper from like 2015. I started keeping the Sabbath and was really, and I'm a seventh day Sabbath keeper. So this is a big part of why I chose lawn care, is because I wanted to get into a business where I didn't have to work on Saturday, on the Sabbath. And I'm like, I don't want to ever have to be forced to work on the Sabbath. And that's why I like telemarketing, because we never worked the weekends. It was never a weekend thing. So I'm like, my business got to be the same way. How can I have a business that, and I've always been like weary that, I'm like, businesses, you kind of got to run, I don't know, I just always thought like you got to run it on the weekends too, I just didn't really put too much thought into it. But when I thought about lawn care, I'm like, okay, maybe I can make my own schedule. I just won't schedule anything on the weekends or on Saturday. I can do it on Sunday. So that was a big plus for me. So when I didn't quit my job right away. I was working from home, so I'll be working from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And as soon as 4 p.m. hit, I'm hanging up the phone. I'm like on the phone with my last client. I'm like, all right, you gonna buy or not? You ain't buying, all right, whatever, bye. Hang up the phone. I would rush outside, grab my mower, and go bust out a few yards, like on my street. I didn't even have a truck at the time. I had a Toyota Camry. So my job was like, yeah, we got y'all working from home, but what happened? Something happened where they was like, we got to switch out y'all computers. We need you to take off for like 2 weeks while we switch out the computers, or whatever the system was. The system was tripping. So I had like 2 weeks off, or I think I got suspended for some reason. It's blurry. But whatever it was, I started, I took that time and I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy a truck. So I had like I think I had like 3 G's saved up, because I was spending a lot of my money. As soon as I made it, I spent it. But I had like 3 G's saved up, and my wife, bless her heart, she gave me like 6. She gave me like 6 G's, and I bought a truck for $9,000. And it was a GMC, the GMC Sierra 1500. It was low mileage. It was like a 2017. Hold on, it was in 2020. No. It was like a 2000. What was it? Like a 2008 or a 2010 or something. But it was in good condition. It was like the extended cab, not the 4-door. It was like the extended cab, and a nice size bed. So I got that. It was 4x4. I got the truck for 9 G's. I already had the mower. I think, I had a weed eater, like a Ryobi weed eater, not a great like weed eater. I had I think I might have purchased a little blower, like the little Stihl handheld blower. So I was ready to go. Once I bought that truck, that's when I really started to think of it like a business and started to, go up with it. So I would book all my clients Monday through Friday, and just hang up the phone as soon as I get off at 4. Once the little suspension or the whatever happened, I forgot if it was equipment malfunction. This all happened around the same time. And because my numbers were, at the time I wasn't focused. I was more focused on the lawn care business. So I'll be watching these videos all day and doing math and writing out a business plan. So I started to slip on my sales, and it was like a suspension, but they're at the same time, they're like, hey man, look, we got to switch out this equipment. You're not doing so great on your numbers. Just take this time off for a couple weeks. We'll get you back in. I was like, all right, cool. I felt like the couple weeks turned into like a month. So what I ended up doing was, I ended up, I think around COVID, they were doing like I ended up filing for, what's the thing called? What's the thing called when you collect money? Unemployment. So I was on unemployment, even though I was like suspended. I wasn't really fired. I just went ahead and got on unemployment, and because of the circumstance. So I was getting unemployment and trying to run it up on my lawn care. Now I had the whole day to run it up, and I had a job that I could go back to it once stuff cleared up. So I end up doing it for like maybe a few months, because I started in September of 2020 is when I like officially got a logo for my business and like really started pushing it. Now, by the next year, 2021, going into 2021, getting ready for that spring, I started my lawn care business. I was no longer on the unemployment, so I wasn't getting that check, and I was kind of like full time, but I got a part-time job to help make up for, the loss of income. So what I was doing is I was doing my lawn care during the day, and I wasn't doing the phone calls anymore with the call center by spring of 2021. Instead, I was doing lawn care during the day, trying to run that up as much as possible, and doing so this is how I got most of my customers in the beginning. I was on Google from day one. I got my Google account set up, my Google business. I'll put my stuff on Craigslist. But in the beginning, I was doing Lawn Starters, which is an app where it's like the Uber of lawn care, where they just give you clients to cut. You go cut them, and they break you off like half of whatever they pay. So very low paying clients, horrible type of lawns. It'd be super, super long, super, super high grass. So, but in the beginning, that's how I stayed busy. So doing that, and then I would supplement with, also, I forgot, I was doing Uber too. So before I stopped doing my job. I was doing Uber all the way up till COVID hit. So I was like, when COVID hit, I'm like, man, this Uber thing is kind of getting dangerous. And my wife was pregnant at the time with our first daughter. So I'm like, man, this Uber thing is kind of getting a little risky. Let me stop doing Uber. And that was something that pushed me into doing the lawn care more. But in 2021, it kind of died down. So I kind of got back to I was just doing whatever. I was doing lawn care. I was doing a little bit of Uber. And then I finally got a job at a gas station. So I would work at nights at this gas station, at a Shell gas station. So I would do lawn care during the day. And then I would work at the Shell gas station at night from like 6 p.m. to midnight. It was only a 6-hour shift. So 6 p.m. to midnight. Like 6 days or 5 days a week. That with my lawn care. All right. So I must have did it like that for maybe 2 or 3 years. And then I would only do the gas station in like the winter, like the fall and winter. And I would always keep it a little too long in the spring until it just got impossible and I had to quit. But the gas station was cool. They kind of knew that I had my lawn care business, so they would let me come back in the winter, in the fall, no problem. So I've done that off and on since I started my lawn care business. Like I say I'm full time because it's been my number one focus, but I've typically always had some type of side hustle, whether it was a part-time job like the gas station, or I've even done security. Like that's something I did last year. I'm most likely going to do it this year as well in this winter. I'll do security at night. And I've always kind of done some like Amazon Flex deliveries, when it gets slow. So I am full time, but I keep a part time gig when things get slow, like during the winter, because I haven't kind of figured out yet how to stay busy during the winter and during the slower months. So that's been my get down. That's why I got into lawn care, because I could control my schedule. In 5 years of having my lawn care business, I've never had to work a Saturday, so that's why that was the number one drive for me to get into lawn care, because I knew I could control my schedule. So I usually work only, in the beginning I was working 5 days a week. I was scheduling 5 days a week, but I've seen how that can kind of get messy. I started doing it's funny, like the longer I've done it, the less days a week I've worked. So I usually I've noticed that it's kind of better to have 4 days of scheduled mowing. That fifth day is open for projects. This is how I do it now. I do the fifth day open for projects or any type of thing. But if I keep that Friday open usually, so just in case there's rain or I'm falling behind on work, I can make it up on that Friday open schedule day, or any side projects, so that it doesn't spill over into Saturday. But a great thing about it is it's just grass. So people really ain't tripping, even if I gotta push it off to Sunday or to the following week. It's just grass. It's not the end of the day. It's not a big deal. So yeah, that's why I got into lawn care.